No matter how high-tech, highfalutin, lazy, or foo-foo America gets, we will never stop hunting and fishing. This is the Hunting Quest.
The Hunting Quest.
We take 1 hour of every week and talk about our favorite things in the world, hunting and fishing. You'll get tips and help on the fishing environment locally in the DMV area. Plus, we're going to have fun along the way. This is the Hunting Quest. And now your hosts, Mike Tippin and Mark Davis.
All right. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep. Trying to get figured out here a little bit. I wish we had a fan in here. It's stuffy.
Oh,
It's a little, I don't know. I think you should be, what's the name of the song? Country Boy Can't Survive.
Oh.
Yeah, I can skin a buck and run a troll line.
yeah, well.
So, like I was saying, it's a little stuffy in here. I wish we had a fan, but the fan had too much noise. I don't know if my camera right does not look right in my eye, but if she said it was okay, it's okay.
Hey, you got to trust Anna. She's
It looks like it's like facing over here.
she's got a lot going on.
I don't know, it's a busy day.
Yeah.
So today's episode 436. Today is July 24th, 2027, and we are.
I'm trying to get you your link so you don't
I need my
start-
link so I can send it to people.
I just sent it to you.
Okay. So we really don't have an agenda today. It seems like the closer that we get towards the holidays, nobody wants to be on the show, and everybody's busy and doing stuff.
Oh, can you blame them?
No. I mean, we're in the same
I'm in the same boat. You are too.
We were talking about that, trying to do some stuff, and it's very, very difficult
Man, it's
to get stuff done this time of year.
it is. It is.
And even too, like we went, do some Christmas shopping and stuff today, and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
it's never easy in December.
No, it's not. And and not just that, but from a retail perspective, this is your time of the year to make money, right? So
It is very much a busy time. It's not always necessarily always like December. So
all right.
normally the week before Thanksgiving, we get busy. People come back in town, they want to go shoot and stuff like that.
Right.
Hunting season starts to roll in.
Sure.
And then you start to get the Christmas stuff after that.
Yeah.
So this is our busier season just in general, not only just that. And then even after Christmas, you have the after Christmas people buying stuff.
Right.
And then that really leads all the way into spring. People are still buying stuff all winter. And
Right.
then you have the fishing kicks back up in the spring.
Right.
So that's when that goes through. And the downside of the
Well,
the
you also
fishing
have
part-
tournament shoots too, like starting spring, going into summer, right? Or is that a fall thing? I don't know enough about the.
they kind of go all year. Depends on what they're doing. The thing too is that you have the fishing world. You're trying to catch up. Like you're trying to get all the fishing gear before spring comes.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of a nightmare. And unfortunately for us, being out with the sick leave,
Yeah.
having
tough, man.
COVID,
Yeah.
I missed some marks with some dealers trying to get things. So hopefully
Yeah.
I can get some of that sorted out. We can get some really cool St. Croix stuff in.
Yeah.
I got to talk to him because we got way back and forth on that one. So that'd be really neat. Actually, he's going to come in and talk to. I could get him on here too.
Right.
There's all
I'm
kinds of
excited
stuff
for
like
that one.
Yeah, well, they're coming out with some really neat stuff. So St. Croix was always known for fishing rods.
Right.
Everybody's always known St. Croix. If you fish any kind of seriously, then you know what St. Croix is. There's a couple other companies that have decent rods, but you definitely know, you've heard of St. Croix if you're out there fishing. So that's part of what, goes on. But you never thought of St. Croix in the aspect of reels
Right,
or reel
yeah.
rod combos. So now they have, I'm pretty sure I turned that off. So-
it's going to come in here,
Yeah,
busted
they all
through
need-
the door.
So they're going to start doing combos, which is really neat because a lot of times people would come in and they would look at the rods and they would say, what kind of reel would be good for this? And we'd walk through different reels like that. And then it would be really tough to actually find one that matched. So I can tell you, hey, buy a St. Croix rod. It's really, really nice, and it's a really good rod.
Sure.
It's real solid. For you to say, which reel should I get? It's like, well, there's a lot of really solid reels, too.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. So now what they've done is they've come out with some where they have their combo
Right.
of what they're going to make. It's not going to be on the highest end of the rod. So
Right.
there's, and when I say that, Their Spectrum is all quality stuff.
Sure.
But you do have
They can't afford for it not to be.
There's a difference between their $120 rods and their $500 rods.
Of course.
So, like, when you look at, like, for example, when we talk about, we'll just use the musky rods, for example, because they're really easy to notice the difference.
Sure.
When you pick up, like,
Now, you fish the glass muskies.
So I have the Mojo muskie,
Right.
and then I have a Legend Elite, like the very top tier one.
Yeah.
Or next to top. They look the same when you look at them, but then when you really start to pay attention, they're completely different.
Sure.
The weight is completely different. The one is way, way, way lighter.
Right.
The eyes and stuff become different, but the material of the rod is where the big money is.
Sure.
And you can tell when you look at it, like, this is a much, much lighter rod.
I got you.
And it's funny because it almost does weird stuff with you when you pick it up. So, like, for example, I was using some Shimano rods with a guy that were probably equal in strength and use, but they weighed so much more that when I went back to my rod, I was like, "Is this okay? Am I going to break this rod?" You know, like throwing these kind of things. So it gets kind of weird.
I get that.
You know, from time to time with that, but yeah. So they're going to come out, like I said, with some combos.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
They should be really, really neat. So hopefully we'll have those. And I told you, like, some of the guys are noticing that with the bigger paddle baits and the bigger jigs and things of that nature, where we were running the figure eights on the top of the water.
Yeah.
They always have like a pistol grip to them now, so you'll be able to run
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I remember you talking about that.
So they got a lot of gossip about, I don't know gossip, I don't know if the right word
Grief.
is, but yeah, they got a lot of grief about them at some of the different shows. People were like, oh, this is stupid. And I can understand what people are thinking about that.
Right.
But it's for the bass rods. But I can tell you this, for the
Like musky
stuff, like when you're doing the figure eight all the time, like you definitely want that. Like you really, really want to have that on there, because when it'll wear you out.
Yeah,
and I mean it wears you out in general just throwing such big stuff.
Dude,
so.
That's not enough.
But so I'm really excited about that. Getting some of that stuff in, and hopefully we got enough stuff ordered ahead of time, and then some of the smaller brand stuff that we carry, like.
Well, are you so? Well, here's my other question. I was going to ask you while you were when you were kind of talking about reels a little bit. How many people are brand specific when it comes to their reels?
Okay, so we definitely have. We'll call them fanboys.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good way to put it.
Well, you called John. John's a fanboy.
John Moeller?
Yeah.
Well, no. So,
John, I'm trying to stick up for
I wouldn't even say that about John, actually. I would say that John is really big on trying to find the new thing.
Sure.
So you'll see John with, like...
Well, he's functional.
Well, he's always looking for something that's different.
Right.
So, like he... You ever hear like different marketing strategies?
Oh yeah.
John is that guy that you're trying to figure out.
Sure.
So like for example, like when you go, hey, I'm going to sell this to him because it's different.
Right.
I'm going to sell this to him because it's expensive. I'm going to sell it, and so he sees these things and write ups, and he's like, I want to try it.
Sure.
Now, no fault to him saying that it works or it doesn't work or whatever, but I think his mindset is if I don't ever try it, I'll never know.
Yeah, who knows?
So he winds up buying a lot of stuff and going through, and then he has specific brands that he likes.
Sure.
But I've never seen him be like, I won't try something because of something else.
Right.
He'll go ahead and use it and then even sell. But I mean, it's like we talked before with him. He gets in that cycle where he starts to use something different, gets doing it, and then he always forgets about other things.
Yeah.
And then, so when I first met John, I think I first met him, but when we first started talking fishing a lot, I was telling him things like I use a lot of spinners.
Right.
To me, getting that reaction hit is really, really, really worth it, and it works really, really well. He was like, oh, I would never use those. They don't work well. Those are, in lack of better words, like childish things, that aren't going to work out and get what you want out of it. And I'm like, but that's
his take on it.
That's to me taking away something very, very good.
Sure.
Out of your tackle box. So we talked about it and back and forth for a while. And then all of a sudden one day he was like, hey, I went out there and I tried it and those were great.
Sure.
And I'm like, ugh, what?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where he's looking for the new and upcoming thing and he gets out there. But back to what I was saying about fan people, I have certain ways too.
Right.
So for example, like I know that I like Abu Garcia reels.
Okay. I don't.
They work well for me. They've always done good.
I don't.
And that being said too, I am a fan of Abu Garcia reels at a certain price point.
Sure.
And especially nowadays with the conglomerates, you see that they're all over the place.
Yeah.
So I like a lot of them at a certain price. That's a certain thing that's good for me. So
I've become a Daiwa fan. I've always been a Shimano guy. I've owned Abu Garcia, cheap Abu Garcia, but growing up, I didn't have a lot of money, so they were garbage. They'd last you a little bit, and you think, oh, I'm getting this Abu Garcia, and they were just junk. But I found Shimano there at the time. Shimano's stuff lasted a little bit longer for me. It seemed to hold up a little bit better, and it was at a lower price point. So for somebody who didn't have a lot of money, the Shimanos fit well. And then of course, you had Daiwa, and I could never afford Daiwa.
So I could never tell you this with certainty any of the numbers, but I've always heard the stories. I see some truth to it, but I'm told that most of the reels are made basically by 3 different companies, make most of the components, and they put them together.
Sure,
I believe that. I do think that there's part of that.
Most manufacturing right now. So
I think that there's also one-off parts that they make more. Now,
sure.
Touching on Abu Garcia, we'll touch on all of it. Abu Garcia first off, because that's where I started. Those Abu Garcia reels have different levels.
Sure.
And you have to look at certain things to know the differences.
Sure.
Round bait casters were where they started. That's what they made. That's what they were known for. If you looked at them, there were different versions. There were Swedish-made ones, and there were non-Swedish-made ones. And the Swedish-made ones were much better quality than the Chinese-made ones. Mm-hmm. And the way that you used to be able to tell, and I don't know if it's true anymore, but it wasn't stamped on there. It was a medallion.
Right. I mean, we talked about that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And when you would notice the ones with medallions, you would then notice they were better made. They were bunch. Then they have Japanese SKU ones that are even nicer because their market's almost bigger than ours is with the fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see the levels, and then you can go all the way to Walmart and buy one that looks the same. It's a circle of thread, and then you pick it up, you realize everything's painted on the outside. There's no medallions or no nothing.
Yep.
It's plastic gears. It's made to be cheap and done that way.
Right.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's Anna.
No, I know, but it usually tells us if something's wrong.
That's what I was checking to see.
To make sure we have audio or something.
Yeah, she said, yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. So,
yeah, she's good.
So that's one of the Abu Garcia things. Now the Daiwa, for example, we met Daiwa team at a show.
Yeah.
And we met the guys that were the U.S. reps and then the guys that were from overseas that were in the factories.
Right.
We had an interpreter, and they were super nice, and they were really, really cool. They have really interesting lines. So you can look at Daiwa, and you've seen before, I have Daiwa rods and reels that I don't know how they produce for the money.
Right.
When I'm selling them to the retail for $15
right.
for a rod and reel spinning combo that to me would last you all season. It may not last you years and years and years, but it'll last you enough if you're just playing around fishing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they can produce it for that cheap and then ship it over here.
Right.
So they'll have that very, very low end. And then the same thing, you can look at their equipment, and then we're back up to bait casters and spinning reels that are in the hundreds of dollars range. And then if you start to look at some of their big saltwater gear, they have electric reels and big reels, so on and so forth.
Yep.
So Daiwa has a huge spectrum. Daiwa, I know, is a big OEM manufacturer, people.
Yep.
They make a lot of parts and things like that. And then Shimano is in the same kind of boat. You can go and order Shimano reels. They're yet again rods and reel combos. So they're $20, and then you can go all the way up to I don't remember what the name of the one bait cast they have now, but it's an all metal body.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's really heavy, solid, but it's like $500.
Oh,
and then Shimano is really big on having all this technology with the
DCs,
the brakes, and I will say this: I haven't had a lot of experience with them.
I love mine.
Every single one that people have that's supposed to not spool and have issues seems to have have all the issues that they say it's not gonna have.
Here's the thing, and this is I handed that bait casting reel to my brother, who swears up and down that he cannot throw a bait casting reel. And I said, you can't backlash it, just don't throw it hard. He's like, what? And I was like, you can't backlash it, just don't throw it hard. When people either one of two things happen that you were responsible for if you backlashed it. And when they do backlash, they are hell to get out. I mean, just start cutting at that point. You're never going to get that one untangled. And if you do, it's got, kinks in the line, stuff like that. But so I gave it to my brother, and he threw it, and not one time did he backlash. Never put his finger on the spool, nothing, not once. And this was in this little pond out in Missouri, and it was blowing wind and having a good time. But the two things people do wrong is either they throw it too hard, or they have a bait on there that is too heavy for that rod and reel setup, right? Or the lure or bait is too heavy for that rod and reel setup. And both of those cause problems. So if you're if you're shooting like a Bass X, a St. Croix Bass X, and you've got you got 10, 15 pound line on there or something like that, and you've got a 1 ounce or a 2 ounce, something 2 ounce, 2.5 ounce, type lure on there, and you're throwing that thing out, and it's not built for it, you're going to overcast it, and it's going to backlash every time.
So it's really funny when you talk about that, is that people will come to me and they'll say, I would fish for a while, I wanted to get a bait caster. Or they'll say, I see a lot of people using a bait caster. Why do I want to get into it? Should I get into it? So on and so forth.
Sure.
If you're fishing enough that you can get out there and you can spend some time out there learning and messing with the reel, that's great. If you don't have the time and you're able to get enough time to fish,
don't bother.
It's probably not time for you to learn that.
Right.
But with that being said, the advantages of fishing baitcaster are great. I didn't start using a baitcaster until I was in my 20s.
Right. I tried it when I was a kid.
I never messed with it. It wasn't my thing. Yeah. So I wound up using when I got older. And I realized at that point, and I mainly did it for topwater. I couldn't run the topwater stuff like I wanted to run.
Yep.
And then when I realized the control that you have with the speed, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of when you've driven a car for years, it was a manual, and then you get back behind something we've driven a car that's an automatic, and then for years, and then you get behind something that's a stick, and you realize how much more control you have in the car. You can do a lot of little things that you can't do in the same, angle, and I kind of feel like that's sort of what it's like running a baitcaster.
I would agree.
You'll get out there and you'll run it, but then you realize too, really quick, they're not as versatile. Mm-hmm. So like you can't just take it and like, for example, if you're out there fishing, like let's say I went out there and I'm going to go bass spinners, big skirted spinners.
Yep.
I'm going to chuck them out there. Probably okay. I'm not going to have a problem chucking back. Speed control is going to be great. Sure. I can run them really fast. I can run them really slow. I can do whatever I want to do.
Sure.
And casting and backlashing isn't going to be a problem because it weighs so much. I should be able to time it well and do whatever.
Sure.
If it's not working and the fish aren't that big and I say, hey, I'm going to go over and grab a little swim bait or a little Maps.
Good luck.
Or something like that, I throw it on there.
And now you're messing with the drags and the brakes.
I'm hitting it, and if I don't mess with it, it's backlash before it hits the water.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second that I start to mess with it, I realize I can't get it out anymore.
Right.
So by the time you turn brakes on, you turn tension on, now you've defeated it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those things where you also have to ask yourself, am I using baits that are big enough to use a bait caster for? If you're out there trying to catch trout or little things, the bait caster is not for you.
Exactly.
If you're going out there and you're pan fishing, a bait caster is not for you.
Right.
If you're going out there and you're going after these bass and these bigger things and stuff like that, it's great.
Yep.
But you really have to ask yourself, is it that? And then also, do you want to spend the time learning how to pick through this reel to get it to go? And after you do it a bunch of times, with the exception of every so often there's ones I just can't get out.
Yeah.
But most of the time I just pull and there's a pile of line at my feet and then I just crank it back in.
Right.
And you kind of get used to doing it, but there's plenty of times where I've been out there before.
Oh yeah.
And I'm so mad and I'm like, why am I even using this? I could have been fishing nonstop with a spinner, and especially, and we'll go back to what we talk about a lot, is that when you get that buck fever moment.
Oh, yeah.
When I threw it out there, that fish hit, and I missed it, and I cranked it real fast, and I tried to cast it back to it again. And I'm so focused on it, and the next thing I know, I'm backlash, and now I know that fish is there, and now I'm mad.
Now you're pissed.
And everything's just on top of that, and I'm thinking to myself, and I just grabbed a spinning rod. I could have thrown it out there. I wouldn't have these problems. I wouldn't have these issues.
And that's that coulda, woulda, shoulda, though, right?
But if you don't get the time behind them, you'll never get better with them.
That's
You're
it.
not going to get fast with them.
That's it.
So it's one of those things where, there's brand loyalty, there's equipment loyalty, there's those sort of things. There's guys that would never use a St. Croix rod because they like to use
personal preference,
a Dobbins rod or something. They like to use another huge company that my mind's dead for. There's all these other things out there. So to me, it's kind of interesting to watch. I do see that we stock a lot of St. Croix rods.
Oh, yeah.
Probably more than you're going to see in most stores. Then you go to the big box store, you're going to see some of it. We have more SKUs probably, but we continue to order throughout the year.
Yeah, they do one order, and when it's sold, it's sold.
They're gone. So, that's kind of the cool part about that. So, like I said, the whole goal is to do that. And then, the idea is you want to have the higher end rods, and then you want to have a lot of the high end reels.
Sure.
So it's really tough because you want to be like, okay, some guys like Evan Garcia.
Yeah.
Our guys from Evan Garcia's reels. hey, some guys like Daiwas. I'm gonna grab a couple Daiwas. I'm gonna grab a couple of these, and then the last thing you want to do too then is outprice everybody.
Yeah.
So that they come in to buy a rod, it's too expensive.
Right.
So it's really tricky to stock some of that stuff. The rods, you just buy the SKUs and see what happens.
Sure.
But the reels, you have a lot more preference to and things of that. It's if they like St. Croix rods, they like St. Croix rods.
Yeah.
It's easy to put somebody behind a rod. It's harder to put people behind a reel.
Yeah.
Because
it also depends on hands,
brand.
you know, and
how they look too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go, if you bought a rod that's purple,
yeah,
and there's the reel is bright orange, and you don't like how the orange and purple look, well then you're not gonna get that orange Daiwa reel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that also comes into play.
Yeah.
I think the first time I met you had bought.
Let's see if you remember.
Well, you called me first.
Yeah.
And you asked what we had, and I said, yeah, we had some things, and you bought a St. Croix.
Yeah.
It was a spinning rod.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say it was like a yak rod or something.
It was.
It was a yak rod?
It was.
You bought a yak rod with a spinner, and the spinner...
A long yak rod, too.
And the spinning reel was not something I would have had. It was a...
Starts with an N.
It's that other company.
Nextum. It's Nextum.
Was it?
Yeah.
So it's made by
I don't know who makes it. I can't remember. I love it though.
I bought some of them, but they were like on closeout.
Yeah.
So I picked a couple out, and they were really, really good quality. It was all metal frames,
Yeah.
all
I love
metal,
it.
everything.
It's a heavy rod and reel.
And it was the right series for that rod, whatever
Yeah.
the size was. I remember it worked out
It's
really well.
all for drop shots.
Yeah.
I wanted a rod just to throw drop shots with, and
But that was a perfect example of it.
phenomenal.
It kind of fit. Like, this is what you wanted. This was the weight that you wanted to run. And we
Yep.
did it. And that, too, is sometimes it's easier. If you come into the store and you don't just say, I'm looking to rod or pick a rod out, and
Yeah.
you can talk to the guys and be like, hey, what do you want? I'm looking for a rod that's this kind of weight.
Yeah.
I want to run this kind of line.
Yep.
And I sort of want to run a reel around this. What would you do?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, here's what I have. Here's the options. And I'll even tell you sometimes, like, what I have doesn't work. You might want to look at waiting to see if we get something else in
Yep.
that's this, that, or the other. So, it's...
Well, that's what happened. No, it didn't. I was thinking about the Legend, that Legend glass that I got from you. That's orange or brownish orange.
Is that the one that you were in the dial on?
Yeah,
Orange
yeah,
dial?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's and total happenstance they match. It looks slick. It looks really, really slick.
Their
So,
rods look really nice. And what's nice about their rods too is they're nice, but they're not like nothing against like the loose stuff. It's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And they make different price ranges.
Sure.
But some of their stuff, and even some of the Abigail Garcia stuff, it's just really bright.
Yeah.
There's a lot of color stuff going on, and you're just kind of looking at it like, I want something that looks more adultish. You know what I mean? I don't need this to look like, all this crazy pink and orange and shit all over it. So when I see those sometimes, it's kind of a lot going on.
Right.
Now, for like the cheaper combos, it's a great price, especially for younger kids that want to get involved in it. Like, when we have over on the left hand side, we'll have that whole rack with all those Abigail Garcia spinners and beginner bait casters, and they're bright red and orange,
and they're
all that
awesome.
kind of stuff
That's
like
what, but that draws the kids' attention.
and they're
right?
like the middle of the price range. You maybe like a teenager buying it, you think it's something really cool. So those work out really well
For sure.
and that kind of stuff. But I find if I'm going to spend the big money on it, I don't want it to be so much like a gaudy thing.
No.
I want it just to look really nice. Like, wow, that's a nice looking setup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I got a Mach 2, one of the Lose Mach 2 from you. It was somebody brought it in or returned.
Yeah, you did.
That's a badass freaking rod and reel.
Yeah, a guy
for a combo set.
He had
Jeez.
bought it brand new, and he didn't. I don't remember what it was. He didn't like it. It was something, and he was like, "I really wanted a different rod."
I love it.
And he gave it.
I mean, it's bright. It's bright green.
and I traded it. And it worked out. And because you got it. 'Cause you're like, I went to this
I
company.
love it.
And I was just,
I love it. It's a cool little action rod.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, it was a cool rod and reel. So, but anyway, so what else were we talking? Oh, I wanted to talk about today. Don't let me forget about it. So, not to change the subject, but I wanted to talk about our fishing trip. I mean, our hunting trips. The duck hunting trips coming up. So,
when they're coming up.
but we don't have to get to that yet. We're still talking about fishing. So, so you were on St. Croix, new rods.
Yeah, so that's
pistol
kind of
grip.
sort of getting some stuff set up for the.
Do you know when you might get those in? Do you expect a date?
The rep was supposed to give me a rod to actually to go out and use.
Okay.
actually like demo it. He was giving me
Yeah.
specific rods. I was going to use like one of my reels on it.
Sure.
But yet again, he called me a couple times. I haven't gotten back with him just because of the whole like COVID thing.
Sure.
So we were like so behind with him being open and everything.
Yep.
I'd like to get one in my hand as a demo piece first before the other ones come in. Ideally,
Sure.
everything should start to come in like the early spring. Like I imagine like March.
Right on
stuff will
time.
start showing up. That's usually about when we get the turnaround because they'll wait to try to ship as many in the box as they can.
Sure.
Because shipping rods is expensive.
It is not
one-piece
freaking
rods.
cheap, dude.
So hopefully that goes through. And like I said, hopefully we get those Abu Garcia mid-range rock rods in and a lot of the Daiwa stuff in. But sometimes it's a killer that time of year. Like everybody's trying to get the same stuff.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to get those rods that they know are going to sell. It's just kind of like, and it's not like, oh, you should buy them in the winter then. They're not there yet.
Yeah,
They're sold out for
exactly.
the summer and you're waiting for them to restock and then the spring.
Right.
Everybody's jumping or sales are coming. You're like, I'll wait for sales. So unfortunately, we were going to go to, I was really excited to go to one of the events that the distributors have in Tennessee.
Right.
And I thought we could go do a podcast, either, maybe not, I don't know if they let us do it from the event, but show stuff afterwards,
Sure.
during it. But unfortunately, I can't take another week off with all the time we took off before.
Yeah.
So that kind of ruined that aspect. And some things have, changed business-wise. Taking that time off where it's like I can't really,
Welcome to
close
be
the
a
store
business
that
owner,
way.
right?
So unfortunately, that was something that we were really excited to get into, but we're just not going to be able to this year.
It's okay.
But
We'll get there.
shit happens. Just depends. Hopefully, maybe next year people won't get sick all the time.
It is what it is.
So that also dictates too sometimes what we can buy. The funnest thing for me about those, and this is probably the most selfish reason, is that it's really fun because there's like a whole bunch of like food and catering stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then also the distributors, not distributors, but the manufacturers, they're just giving away product.
Oh,
Like fishing stuff, like they just want you to try stuff because it's not so much like the gun world. Like when you go to like SHOT Show, like they're giving out pens and pencils,
Right,
and
yeah, swag.
stuff and shirts. And they're not giving away guns,
Right.
what I mean? but when you go to the fishing shows as a store, they're giving away lures. Because it's really not that much money if you want to give away some lures. So if they're going to give you a lure for you to try,
Yeah.
and then you buy 100 for the store, what do they care?
Yeah.
So whenever you're at the table, they're just like, here, take this demo, take this demo, take this demo. And you leave the thing, like, I got all these lures, so cool. And it's really neat.
Right.
So that, I really like the whole fun part of the aspect of that. So
you realize we're going to catch hell because it's December and we're talking about fishing, right? I've already got a text from my friend Joey.
Well, so it's funny you say that, and I was actually going to talk about this. I just had a conversation, and I completely forgot. A friend of mine in New Jersey called and said, "Hey, do you want to come up and fish the jetties for the stripers?" And I said, "Is that still going on up there? I don't know because it's done over here.
Right,
We're
yeah,
not
it's
doing
been
it
done.
here anymore."
Yeah.
And I forget that they go north. So
Yeah.
they're fishing right
Oh,
now.
that makes sense, yeah.
So it's really not over. Like the season's still
Dude,
going on.
I am not going out to fish in this.
What's killer for a lot of people is that
What's killer is it's freaking cold. It's freaking cold.
what they don't realize is that it's
Duck season. That's what they don't realize. It's duck and deer season.
fishing's okay. So you know what? Here, how about this? This is the interesting about fishing. There's different fishing seasons.
Sure.
Okay. And there's you're the average person fishing season.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're suburban Joe, whatever. And you got your family and everything's great. And once a year you take a trip to Ocean City and or you got your camper and you go out there and you fish from the beach and you catch a crab and a horseshoe crab and a flounder and you think it's the greatest thing ever. And there's a million other people out there fishing. And you've got your $15 Daiwa that I sold you. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. You fish all the tree. That's what's like in the summer.
Right.
Well, if you go, for example, like we use Fish Point Lookout. All right. So Point Lookout, we'll do a diagram.
Oh, Lord.
Point Lookout would have a pier. Okay. Oh my God, there's so much stuff right in here. Pictures of catfish. So they would have a pier. I'm going to draw it. I'll hold it up. Glock pen. So the pier was like this.
Okay. So
So it's
you go ahead and hold it up higher than that, I think.
This is the shore.
Okay.
Now this pier is huge. Well, you can drive a car on this. It's massive. It's a car length. Okay. So you would go, and in the summer when you get there, you park over here in the parking lot, and you walk over, and right here nobody's really fishing here. But from here, it's shoulder to shoulder. There's nowhere to fish. You can't fish anywhere. Okay, but if you fished overnight, you could slowly make it around. But come dawn, there was still like 30 or 40 people out there fishing, okay?
Right.
All the way through August. And then September, this whole section's empty. And then November, this whole section's empty. And then after that, it's only 2 other dudes out there ever fishing anymore. And then the pier closes. And the point is that...
Uh-oh.
No. So, 10. So, the point I'm getting at is, and then you would see the equipment becomes nicer. Like, some of these guys all have nice stuff. So, you can fish well into the winter and fish and catch stuff and so on and so forth. You have to change game, you change your angle, you have to do kind of stuff like that. But it's not over. People still fish when it's cold outside.
It's over.
Around here, I don't know, because, like, for example, they don't fish. I guess we're doing a. I know what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
So
this is for later.
This is for later. Yeah, yeah. We're doing that. I think that went well last week.
It did.
So we're doing up here. The lake's closed and stuff.
Yeah.
The little lakes. You can't go to Cedar Lake right now.
Well, no, you can't. Well, you can. Mm-hmm. Oh no, yeah, you're right. It is closed.
They closed like November or something like that. I don't know. But
I'm not going there.
It ends, but this
I'm not going to go to Cedar Lake. It's cold.
You can still fish.
I'm not going to fish though.
Some places
it's too cold.
So
unless I'm sitting in a shanty on an ice, on a frozen lake.
I never understand what the difference between like people say that, and then like you're the perfect example of this, and I know this. A perfect example of this. You'd say that to me right now. You'd say, "Ooh, I'm not going fishing because it's too cold."
Right.
And then a week from now, you'd be like, I met this guy. And I'd be like, okay. And you'd be like, I was in, I don't know, Massachusetts, and I met this guy, Johnny Massachusetts, and he told me that ice fishing is the coolest shit ever.
Right.
And he's got an ice fishing check.
Sure.
And we got to go ice fishing.
Of course.
It's just, you're still going fishing when it's cold.
Have you ever been ice fishing?
No,
first of all?
I've never been on ice.
That is, all right, so first of all, completely different. The idea is not to fish.
Tomato.
No, the idea is not to fish there. The idea is to drink and watch this little flag pop up and then go run out and get your fish.
Quite a lot
come
of
back
people
and drink some more.
Catch some big fish out there with that.
Yeah, so I'm just saying.
I would try that.
It's too cold.
No, that's what does suck when your reels are freezing.
Yeah.
Like when the water's coming up and you got to break all the ice off.
And braid line in freezing cold weather sucks. I don't care what anybody says. Sucks. Tencel streak this.
I have had some miserable times on the boat when it was cold.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
Even October starts to suck. Like a lot of times, I've had October's too, where it's like 90 degrees.
But I've had people, the same thing. They said, well, when the best time to duck hunt is when it's absolutely miserable outside.
You gotta have land for a reason. They're not going to land because it's nice out.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. So I guess there's a trade off. You'll fish in anything, and I'll duck hunt in anything.
Well, I won't fish in everything either. So like, I got a call from one of the guys, because we were going to go down, and different things happened. I can't remember why.
Oh, for muskie.
Yeah, and he's like, "You want to go in the winter?" And I'm like,
How dedicated are you? 4 years. This is going in year 5 for you.
I don't think it's that long. I don't know what it is. No, it couldn't have been.
It's 5 years.
I haven't been here. I have been here 5 years.
Oh.
So it's 7 years. No, who knows? But part of that is that it's not a huge boat because it's not a huge body of water.
Right.
And you get wet.
Right. Yeah, not cool.
Get wet in January.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. It is. I mean, yeah, you hear those stories too, and this is everything.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, like if you go out there in the worst weather, you'll catch the best, or you'll see the biggest deer.
That's the way it goes.
Catch the biggest fish, or you'll fight the biggest polar bear.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Fight the biggest polar bear.
but you never. By the way, I heard some Bigfoot news.
Oh no, we're not going there.
I don't have the up to date information. We're not going there. We can supposedly somewhere in Alaska.
No.
So by the way, when I brought that up, let me tell you this. This actually happened, and I'm kind of embarrassed about the situation.
You should be embarrassed.
So do you remember? I'm drawing like pylons for the pier. So do you remember when Coyote Peterson's call thing happened?
Yeah.
And they showed it, and it was this big thing. And
I remember because you showed it.
I was like, this could be real. And everybody on the world's like, you're dumb. And I was like, but look, I mean, why would this guy lie about this? Like, why would he lie?
Right.
And I was like, look, he's got the skull. He has a video of digging it up. He's just that the other. And then, of course, he was like, spit over. He was like, that was just me having a hypothetical story. Aren't I the best?
No,
he was not. but it misled part of the community, and I need to clarify on this now.
Okay.
I am not a Bigfoot person.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm not. I really don't.
I disagree.
I really don't care about it.
Oh, I disagree.
So if I really thought it was real, I'd be about it. Someone reached out to us.
I know.
And asked if I wanted to go to Alaska to go on a Bigfoot hunt.
You going?
What the hell is a Bigfoot hunt? There's no Bigfoot out there. I guess they go look for it, or they try to get sounds, or
it's like the people in West Virginia go
like
look for the
ghost
for the
hunting or something.
Something on the bridge or whatever.
But my point is maybe people think that about me now. But no, I'm not going on a
secretly you're a Bigfoot hunter.
No, if I had to rate the things that I think are real,
Yeah, that's not one of them.
no. Let's see. We had to do like you got aliens and Bigfoot and Loch Ness monster and the Kraken. Well, that's real. We know giant squid are real,
Right.
anyways. Chupacabra,
Yeah,
Mothman.
That's the one in West Virginia.
Bigfoot's like on the bottom.
All right.
Like I would say that I would probably put like the Loch Ness monster.
Sure.
And aliens way up there.
Oh, yeah.
Like aliens because it's possible because we don't know. And then like Loch Ness monster, not necessarily Loch Ness, but like sea monsters. Like it's freaking huge. We don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
It's up in there because
80% of the world's covered by water.
Well, I was telling Anna, we were talking this other day, and I said that I remember being a kid. They said that the giant squid weren't real.
Yeah.
And then they went to that
Wrong.
village and wherever they were, and they had those little jigs, and they were catching giant squid, and they were like, "Oh no, they're real," because ones would randomly wash up.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a freak thing. Well, no, now they're everywhere. You can get giant squid sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's really good, really good po' boy. So,
No, that is not. No.
have you ever seen the giant squid on a stick?
Yeah.
Yeah, how good is that? Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So you know what's good? So
Not my thing.
so I would put Bigfoot way down there on my most likely I believableness.
All right. Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think it's there. I think if I spent a lot of time in the water growing up too.
All right.
Why am I even talking about this? And there's some. I don't know if the water just like plays a lot of tricks on you or whatever, but there's definitely times when I couldn't explain shit I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of times I was
yeah.
like, "What the hell was that?"
Right.
But then also there were years and years growing up that they lied to us. They lied to me when I was a
God,
kid.
here we go.
Because there were no sharks in the Potomac. And I was like, I swear, I've seen
that's-
these sharks all the
yeah.
time.
Well,
There's no sharks in the Potomac.
They were
You
lying
guys
to you
are
because
wrong.
you were a kid.
The freaking bull sharks are all over the place. We know
yeah.
that now. And then like the dolphins are all over the place. And I don't know, it's been a while, but they were pushing whales out.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Potomac, little whales that were getting stuck in the shallows.
Sure.
So don't tell me that you know what's going on in these rivers. After the hurricane, they used to wash sea turtles up in the
Right.
Potomac, and they'd send them back. That stupid manatee that kept going up to Pawtucket.
Yeah.
They kept to mail him back. So all those things are plausible. But Bigfoot, really,
Right.
much of the Bigfoot. I'm not too big on that one.
Well,
I believe it's skunks. Not skunk apes, just regular skunks. I've seen those before. Do you know there's porcupine in the area?
yeah. You told me that. No, actually, somebody else told me that.
Jake.
Yeah, it was Jake. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a friend that's a veterinarian, and he has in this area, Northern Virginia, and he has quite a few dogs have come in that has sick
Yeah.
quills out of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like people, they like pet. What are they called? Porcupines. And I said, he said, no, they're wild porcupines.
Oh, Lord.
So they're scary. You ever
Oh,
see
yeah.
when people like walking and they make like weird noises? They got like little weird faces.
Oh, yeah. They got like naked butts, too. when
So
they
what is
walk.
it?
They waddle.
Have you ever seen an armadillo?
Yeah.
Don't they carry the plague or something?
No.
They carry some disease.
Not that I'm aware of.
I think they do. I
I don't know if
think.
Anna was here, she'd straighten us
I
out.
think she's
but-
supposed to be our fact checker.
yeah, I don't know that. But
No, I think that they carry something.
so I know that I do know that possums cannot carry Lyme's disease or rabies.
Okay, so we clarify that one because I've told you that. That's not exactly true.
No, they have a lower.
They're way less likely
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
They could still carry it, but it's highly.
But they can get CWD.
Is that the dancing lizard?
No,
the dancing
CWD
frog.
is the chronic waste disease that the deer are getting.
You know what the dancing frog was? That was the WB. Remember?
Yes.
The WB. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No.
Armadillo eggs. No, armadillo lizard. Armadillo leprosy. They carry. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
Leprosy. I don't really know. That's like wounds, right? That's like.
Yeah, your flesh starts peeling off, but you can fix it. So
Can you?
yeah,
Even if it's from armadillo.
yeah, they have antibiotics for that stuff.
I don't know. Is that a bacterial? I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
So it
okay,
just sounds.
but-
It sounds terrible all the way
And
around.
there's only like one leper column. You know,
Colony.
yeah, exactly that word.
So
words are hard.
When you're where you're from, like Alabama, right?
Yep.
So in Alabama, do they have armadillos?
Yeah.
And do you have pork
We
rinds?
call them possums on a half shell.
You got pork rinds?
Yeah. No. Not that I'm aware
I
of.
don't know where pork rinds exactly live.
Most of them are like northeast, and like when I was in Maine, they were all over the place.
You ever see the giant salamanders in Asia? They're like 6 feet long.
No.
Yeah, and I showed a picture. They eat them. And I thought salamanders were like poisonous.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, that's a fact check. It had like one picture. That's the only picture that I clarified. That
Anyway, we're way off topic. This is a hunting and fishing show.
all of the things we talked about had to do with hunting and fishing. There wasn't a thing that was just brought up that didn't somehow have.
I'm
to do
not
with
eating a
hunting and fishing.
porcupine, and I'm not.
The only thing that didn't have to do with it was aliens.
Right. And
that-
Bigfoot.
But other than that, no. I mean, if there were Bigfoot, they live in the woods. You're hunting. I mean, that would 100% have.
Kill it.
That's a not. I think that it would be easier to associate Bigfoot with with hunting
Beep.
than associate some of the other crap I've been rambling tonight.
Right.
Just put it out there.
I don't know.
Stop putting your Bigfoot agenda on me because I don't believe it.
Oh, Lord. Wow. It's all right.
Did you want to discuss something? I know that we
did.
have to. Where we're at. So we're gonna do.
So I talked to Travis.
We're gonna do episode and a dropped off random bag.
Yeah.
Today. So we have to do that today too.
Yeah, we will. So real quick, I talked to Travis.
That's our armadillo, by the way.
Oh, I know. How many bands is it? Is it a
that's,
7-banded armadillo?
That's a 7-banded leprosy armadillo.
Yeah. Anyway, so I talked to Travis, and so I get to go hunting with Travis on next week. Hopefully to go get a pintail, and I'm super excited about that. And
So
it's an
is
all-day
it
hunt.
a pintail a wood duck or not? No, it's not a wood duck. No,
So it's its own kind of duck. And if you ever look at them, especially as they mature a little bit, like you can shoot pintail a lot of different places, but as they, in the fly zone, as they get here, or, as they kind of finish up their migratory pattern and they kind of mature a little bit more, they start getting this giant pin tail that kind of sticks out. Yeah, there you go. And they're really, really pretty ducks. So I got to add that one to my list because I've never shot a pintail. And Travis swore up and down that he'd put me on some good pintails. So
Wow, the female looks like a female mallard.
oh, it's Susie's, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then we're going with another outfitter. We'll see how that goes. That's actually Saturday, 17th, and then we're going to. It'll be 17th, which is Saturday. That's with Devin. That's with this guy Devin. I won't tell you the rest of them. So if if it doesn't turn out, I won't say anything. But and then going with Travis on the 19th, all day as a marsh hunt. Pintail. Hopefully, we'll see some other.
We
stuff
have to set up with him in the early spring with Travis because
for the snakehead.
my dad really wants to go now, but he doesn't want to go when there's bugs.
Okay. Well,
So I told him if he goes really early, the
Yeah.
bugs shouldn't be too bad. He doesn't want to go super hot either.
all right.
So
So then,
he's excited he wants to go.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
We'll get him. We'll get it squared away. We have some other dates, but we're also. I'm trying to put together a trip to go to Saskatchewan next year.
Saskatchewan, Canada.
Yeah. That's going to be
Where is Saskatchewan?
center of Canada.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's center and then all the way up. I mean, the way they do their things is, they section out the entire country.
They have like 3
4, I think.
like columns kind of.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And Saskatchewan's like middle. Like if you're looking at the United States, it's like Midwest, but just keep going straight.
I'm not allowed to go to Canada.
No.
No.
Why not?
So back in the early 90s, they had a thing called the Maple Syrup Treaty, the early 90s. And I worked for a conglomerate called Maple Syrup. And we
You're
had
terrible.
part of a trade issue with the Canadian government.
You're terrible.
So I'm no longer allowed to step foot in Canada.
Oh, I am going to Saskatchewan.
I don't even have a passport right now.
That's terrible. Mine's expired, but mine expired.
I don't even have a real ID yet either.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
I do.
so behind. I guess stuff.
But yeah, no, I've got a. So trying to get that together.
Don't Google the maple syrup thing.
Yeah, don't. And then what else are we gonna do? Oh, and hopefully, my buddy Joey will get to go to Saskatchewan, and he'll bring all of our friends. And
Supposedly, there's some guy that's going to set us up to go fishing down south.
yeah,
In the
we're working on
Floridas.
that. So
That's what I want to get some summertime down there.
we'll get that happening. And
I would like to do.
Well, spring is going to be turkey season for me, though.
That's fine. That's easy. We can do turkey in my backyard, for God's sakes.
No, I got to get a Gould.
Whatever. There's so many big ass turkeys back there.
I don't need an Eastern. I need a Gould.
So here's my goals
Okay.
in life.
Oh boy.
Well, maybe
Life
not
goals.
life, but just goals of things I'd like to catch.
Yeah. Now we're back to fishing.
Not diseases. And that's fine. They'll only be quick. But since you talked about all these things, I would like to next year do one of these.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would either like to do the one that I don't think we get done, takes too much planning, and that is the great white sturgeon.
Oh yeah, that's the one you want to do in
Washington
Washington State.
Yeah,
right.
I'd like to do one of those, like a 12-footer. That would be really, really cool.
Jesus, man.
But you got to spend like a week out there because you either
And that
catch
ain't
it.
cheap.
If you catch the first day, you catch it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you can't just give up. You know what I
Right.
mean? So getting out there, well, the killer is getting out there, staying out there. But once you're there, I mean, it's really not that much crazy money. But I mean, compared to what some people pay on vacations,
Dude.
and they don't even catch a giant 12-foot fish.
Yeah.
I like to do that. I'd like to go down to Texas and get a big old giant gar.
Alligator gar.
That is relatively cheap. That's not crazy expensive.
I know people.
I would also like to go down and do some peacock bass fishing.
So Everglades.
By the way, protected.
Yeah, Everglades though. They have peacock peacock. God almighty, I cannot talk.
Peepapadapa.
Yeah, peacock bass in the Everglades now.
So you know that they released those on purpose, right?
Yeah.
So they are protected. They're an invasive species that's protected. And you know what we shoot up here all the time? Those stupid grass carp.
Yeah.
They're protected in Florida.
Really?
They put them in, so you know, have all the canals and the marsh.
Yeah.
So if you're from Florida, you know, when you get down there, it's marsh. It's like canals everywhere,
Yeah.
all right. The grass was getting too big in there and blocking everything up, and they put grass carp in there.
That makes
So
sense.
you can't keep them. They're protected out there. Same
Wow.
thing with the peacock bass.
Yeah.
Peacock bass, they brought it from down south to kill all the
the Oscars.
they eat them. Those fish that people don't want around there. They're really, really strong. And that they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do about the armor cats, the plankers.
Those things are cool though.
They're really, really cool.
And what's really unique about those guys, those guys actually eat algae and push out, clean stuff. And they sent them up to NASA. Actually used them in their aquaponic system originally when they went to space.
Have you seen that? What they do is when they get up into space. Have you ever seen the tiles on spaceships?
Yeah.
the heat tiles. So when the heat tiles, they get the dirt, film on them from going back in the atmosphere, and they get these really big plane coats, and they have little oxygen tanks for them, and they stick them on the outside of the spaceship. And the plane goes through and eats.
What's wrong with you today? What's wrong with you
It eats the stuff off the outside of the ship. True story. Space fish.
No, not
We
a true
thought
story.
Space Force was a big deal.
You're gonna
Space
get a
fish is
suit.
bigger thing.
You're gonna get a suit.
No, but they got all kinds. Everything lives out there. It's like the perfect habitat. Like there's the snakes are a big problem.
Yep.
All that stuff. No, I would like to catch peacock bass.
Yeah. Well, I want to shoot a king eider.
I would also like to do some boar hunting.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy.
Did you see? So I sent you a video last night. I don't know if it went through. Did you see the video? Okay, so the clip of
Where'd you send it?
the title, I don't know, magic, brain power. I don't know. It's to your phone if somebody.
I didn't get anything from you.
So the beginning of the clip was, "This is why you need 30 rounds," and it was the snow,
Yeah.
and they were hunting boars on foot, and they were walking around,
Yeah.
and they started shooting, and one came and over this hill, 10 or 15 of them came over the hill, charging them,
Yeah.
and they were just putting rounds in them. And, I mean, they were just trying to kill them; they wouldn't die,
Yeah.
And it was terrifying, and I was like, "Yeah, you got to wipe those things out." I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
But supposedly so I'm not a big, I'm not a big gamey meat person. I like, cow. And they say that I've had a lot of that pork, that feral pork.
I like it.
Tastes good to me.
The only problem with it is it's hard to process it if you're going to do it yourself, and a lot of processors won't mess with it. If you're going to process the whole pig,
Really, they won't. Well,
dude,
so
have you ever tried to clean a freaking pig? Jesus,
you ever tried to clean a cow? Because I haven't either.
I have.
I'm not doing that.
Well, I can tell you,
1,400 pounds of hell.
the pig skins are so thick.
That's why they're made out. That's why they make footballs out of them.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's a football. They made out of pig skin. It's leather. It's
leather, But most of the time, people wind up taking this. Like if they shoot a hog, they'll take the back straps out and toss it because of the amount of work it takes to get that. But they also have some of these pigs had a flesh-eating bacteria on their skin. I mean, they're dirty.
That's great. It's just ruining my whole hog. Well, I used to do it in the winter.
No, you just do it whenever, and you pay somebody else to clean your freaking.
No,
pig.
but I'm saying in the winter you're less likely to have those like diseases and stuff, like flesh and viruses and stuff like that.
I'm not messing with them. If I do, I wear like two sets of nitrile gloves and call it good. And then I go out there with a javelina knife and a Havalon knife and start.
Took me a minute to realize what you were talking about Havalon. I was like, what?
Havalon knives. Yeah.
Little scalpel things.
Yeah, which I will always cut myself, and then I give it to somebody else and say, here, and let them do it. But I'm not those Havalon knives are really, really nice. And I mean, surgical steel and razor sharp. And when you're done, you just toss it away and get another one. But Jesus, man, I cannot count how many times. And when you cut yourself with that, it is awful.
Well, what's the other one? The interchangeable blades, Outdoor Advantage, Outdoor Edge.
Havalons, you can do that.
No, I'm just saying there's another company too.
Gerber makes one. Outdoor Edge has got one.
We sold a lot of Outdoor Edge over the years.
Yeah.
I never used them.
Okay.
I always just had like a case or a buck knife that I put on my gutting with and skinning with. But because I wasn't like cutting them up. Like I was just prepping them to go.
Dude, I'm too much of a klutz and my hands shake too bad. I don't need to be around surgical steel that's razor sharp. It's a bad mix all the way around. So we got like 10 minutes left.
And what disease do armadillos carry?
Leprosy.
Whoa, fact check Slayer. She's here now.
She's good.
All right, Anna, well, you're here for us. Go and lead up your microphone. We got to talk to you a second. Did you pick so last week, if you paid attention, we did a mystery gun of the week, right?
Yes.
Yep. Did you pick a mystery gun of the week this week?
I did.
Where did it come from? Where did you pull it from?
The workshop.
What is it? Whose is it? Is it ours?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's see what it is. Gun of the week. So this is the game that we play where Anna goes and pulls a random. Oh, this is easy. Anna goes and pulls a random gun from inventory or from our stock or from our collection, and we discuss what it is. Well, this is a very gun that I am very, very knowledgeable. So if you look, this was the setup that you would have seen later on towards the end of the war. So you got your sling, your mag pouch holder. What's really funny is that there's two different types. People think that there was the mag holders that went on your belt, and that's what these are. No, these are actually made for the stock.
Right.
The ones for the belt, if you put it, only goes like here and it gets stuck. It won't hold two mags in it.
Right.
We actually have magazine in here too.
Look at that.
We got an M1 carbine.
Ooh.
I don't know which one this is, if I can see, because we...
You have a magnifying glass underneath that thing, dude.
So I was going to get into why that's a little tricky. If you look at the back here, these guys, here's the serial number.
All right, yeah.
Right there. I think you see on the camera. And am I holding it right? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's the serial number. Here's the sight. When they were first made, they did not have the sight on them.
Okay.
So see how this sight has windage and elevation adjustment? It didn't have that. It was a small reticle or a big reticle.
Okay.
And it flipped up and down like this.
Okay, yeah.
So the original sight, you could see the manufacturer written right there. Later on, you can't see it. It's covered. So you have to know what the beginning looks like to understand what it is.
Right.
I'm 90% sure that this is a Winchester. We have almost every variant of these in our collection. So we have a US Post meter. We have a Winchester. We have a...
And what round is that chambered for?
30 carbine.
All right.
So there was a whole bunch of different companies that made them. GM made them. Inland made them. They were made all over the place. But the neat part about them is that you can tell things that changed over the years of production. So when they first came out, they had the one flip-up sight. This is later on because it has the elevation and it has windage on it. The bolt, if you look here, see how it's tapered down like this? It's called a flat bolt. The first ones were just round on the top, just like the same thing all the way across.
So what was do you know why they decided to go with the flat top?
They found that the less
friction,
the less meat on the bolt, the less it made it function better. The sight was obviously so you could have more adjustability to your sight. Cool. Later on, the safety used to be a push button safety.
Right.
So you push left or right to put in the safety. Well, the downside is here's the mag release.
Yeah. That's a bad day.
What happened is guys would go to put it in out of safety. They push mag release. So they made the safety a flick switch.
Okay, that's kind of slick.
So there's
Smart
safe,
idea.
there's fire.
Gotcha.
So initially that wasn't like that. That was a push button. Then they went ahead, and they also, if you look here, we have this breech, this band here that holds stock on.
Right.
It has a bayonet lug on there. The
Right.
original ones didn't have bayonet lug.
Gotcha.
They didn't have bayonets on them. They were never set up like that. And then if you look at the holes here in the metal, the wood here, they had 2. Then they went to 4
So,
to keep it structurally stronger. Go ahead.
that bayonet lug, is that like spring loaded to keep it on?
If you look, the little notches there.
Okay, yeah. I was
Okay.
looking at the balls on the little.
Those are just the rivets holding it together.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So it just bends around and goes there. It would lock down. Your rig would sit here. It would go click, and then your spring parts actually are then going to sell.
Gotcha.
This is just a cover, just a muzzle pair cover that they had that you would have seen if you were like, transporting in.
Sure.
This is a World War II gun.
How long did it stay? Do you know how long it stayed in service?
So a long time usually. Most of these, if you've seen them where they're this much that they've gone back to be retold multiple times, this most likely went all the way through Korea too.
Ah, gotcha.
Sometimes you'll actually find them with Korean slings on them.
Oh, that's cool.
So it'll say a bunch of stuff in Korean.
That's cool.
And the first time I saw one of those, I was very confused.
Right.
I was like, why does an M1 Garand, an American gun, have a bunch of Korean writing on it?
Sure.
And the reason I had a bunch of Korean writing on
Yeah.
it
Republic
was
of
because
Korea
they
needed-
had taken them over there and given them to the Koreans.
Sure.
Also, if you look at the stock here, this little bar,
Yeah.
that's an oil tube.
Oh, that's slick. Yeah.
So you take it out, it's got a little dab on there, you can oil it, and that's how that's set up. And then they're really well functioning guns, they're pretty good. Some of the complaints people said was that they didn't have enough ass to just drop people. You know what I
Right,
mean?
well.
But compared to the 30-06 was a lot
Yeah,
worse.
well.
This one actually has under here. She's stocked where she came from. That's Rock Island Armory is where
Okay.
it came from. At one point, B, which was probably, I guess, the time when they did it. And then if you look, it also has a rack number.
Oh,
It was
cool.
on a rack at some point.
Yeah, for their
so
armor.
The 4th. And then she does have the pouch. Dated 44 on there.
That's cool.
And then the original sling. And then
So,
this mag is an original mag, but I don't remember what K means, who manufactured the magazines. And also, you don't necessarily going to find a gun with all the matching parts. Because
well, that was going to be my next question.
So not all the companies made them. So they didn't serialize these guns like that.
Right.
So if we look at like a Luger, for example.
Sure.
If we looked at the Luger, every part of there is going to have some part of the serial number on there.
Sure.
So your barrel receiver would have your whole, let's say it's 5 digits. It's going to have like it's 8675
309.
So if it's like that, if you had 8675 on there, your main parts are going to have 8675
Right.
If your parts are too small, they won't. They'll just have 309
309.
at the
Yeah.
end on there. So you'll see like the buttons and the switches and the small things like that. The Japanese guns actually, so like my Arisaka,
Yeah.
will have the last 2 numbers of the digits of the serial number even pinned on the firing pin.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how much they'll have those guys. So we didn't do that with these. We didn't serialize them. We didn't do it with the Garands either.
Right.
We serialized the receivers and the bolts and some parts.
Sure.
With the Garands, but with these, they were just basically the serial number was here, and then the gun was put together. Now, let's say you got one and it had mixed match parts on there and different things. That doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't correct. It could have gone to Armory and been re-armored. It also could be that your company never made certain things.
Right.
GM made a lot of the barrels, General
Sure.
Motors. So a lot of them have GM barrels in them because some companies didn't make
Sure.
barrels at all, so they had to get their barrels from other
Harder to make
stocks.
a barrel than it was,
So for example, like let's say your company, you're a really big company, you've tooled, and it's really easy for you to make barrels. You're making whole guns, but you're also making barrels for 2 other manufacturers.
Sure.
So as I'm putting mine together, you should be my barrels so I can put the guns together.
Right.
The goal wasn't so much to get the guns all in one place, but to get them
right.
finished.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can also see like Saginaw's from Saginaw, New York.
Yeah.
I mean, Saginaw, Michigan. They have a really bad reputation because their quality assurance wasn't that great.
Right.
So those guns tend to not work as well as some of the other guns and so on and so forth.
I got you.
U.S. postal meters were like the best machined ones. So those are the ones that are really desirable. So it's really interesting to see these wartime guns
Right.
that have first off made it through. I mean,
Well,
this,
you talked about the ones that were made by International Harvester.
the Garands.
The Garands.
Yeah, Garands.
Right? Which I think is cool. I mean, that to me, that's just amazing. But
It's really, really neat to see. So what's really neat is to see this gun here. Something that's, 44. It's getting there in age. It's not 100 years old, but it's 20 years away from it. So it's not too far. In good shape. I mean, it's good shape. It lasted.
Yeah.
You can tell it's been used. You can tell it's been worn. You
Now,
can
is
tell
that
it's got age.
Is that somebody's personal gun, or is it for sale?
This is mine.
So not for sale.
Yeah, this is one of mine. Less they were touched.
Right.
So the less they went back to be rearmored, the more desirable they are, because most of them went back to be rearmored.
Right.
So if they never went back, they would have the original sight, the original round bolt, the original safety, no bayonet lug. If it didn't have all of those and it didn't have all the stamps in the stock for every time it went to be rearmored,
Right.
then you'd say, wow, that thing's a real virgin gun that went out and never got used and never got done. Those would be your most desirable
Right.
because of that. And then the next thing we take in is who made the most of different ones.
Sure.
So if you look at different series, whoever makes the least is probably the more valuable ones.
Yeah, I get that.
So on and so forth. So that's what drives the prices. And then, of course, what condition it's in.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that drive them up there. I would say nowadays, and I hate to even admit it, but you're probably looking like 15 to $2,000 for any of them.
Starting.
I mean, so who sanded them up, Anna? You
Midway?
gotta talk in the microphone.
One of the online dealers. I feel like it. I don't think it was Midway, but it's
No,
one
it
of
wasn't
the
Midway. It was the one that does a whole bunch of surplus guns all the time.
Classic.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Classic Firearms got a whole bunch of carbines. Somewhere, I don't remember where they were from. They were from somewhere. They were in a warehouse, and they were just like rusted really bad, really bad shape like overall.
Right.
So what they did was they sandblasted them all down, refinished them, and then they sanded over the whole stocks and then refinished stocks. But they took so much material off that you could literally tell the difference.
Oh wow.
So those were starting at $1,500, and those are retail. And that kind of changed a big part of the price.
Right.
So yeah, I would say you're probably looking for a decent one that's not like one of theirs. Probably $1,800 or $2,000 probably for a
Right.
decent one. And then from there, if you start to get really specific, like a U.S. postal meter that never went to armor that was perfect and really in shape, I don't know, $4,000.
See, but and that's cool. I think it's weird. I think I have a different taste for things. I like items that have a history to them. They look like they've been used. Like that gun looks like it has it has a history to it, right?
So this I would put.
I like that.
This I would put more towards your shooter grade. You can shoot this.
Right.
Wouldn't be too worried about it. You're not going to damage it any
Yeah,
more than
but-
it's damaged. But it's still collectible.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's still a very collectible gun. It wasn't destroyed when
Right.
we refinished it.
Yeah.
Everything's original on it for the most part. And I remember, like I said, we've got like 6 of these. I can't remember exactly. But it's all set to go. So when you look at these,
They're gorgeous.
they're just neat. They're wood.
Yeah, they're
It's
gorgeous.
alive. It's got the warmth to it, but it's
Yeah.
also, you can tell, every one of these nicks came from something.
Yeah.
Someone dropped this, someone put this there, someone did something with it, It's like the Winchester Garands. Those were the
Yeah.
first ones that went over. And if you want to pretty much guarantee that the gun went to war, the Winchesters went to war.
Yep.
And there's also a bunch of different variants too. Like one of the really desirable ones of these would have been parachute models.
Yeah.
So that has a wire metal stock at the end, the side folds.
Yeah.
And those, yet again, you're getting back into the, $4,000 or something like that, $5,000 for those. And they're just really, really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
But it's nowadays you don't see it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, before I was born, but you would have seen these things in barrels at gun stores, for
Oh yeah.
$50
nothing.
or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's all relative too, because we talk about now the
What's like the Lee and Enfields?
the Enfields. A really good example is the Mosin and Getz.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, I can remember going to gun stores and having barrels of Mosin and Getz and SKSs.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like $100 if that in there, and people would go picking through them and buy them here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember even up till when I first moved to West Virginia, I was really poor, I didn't have a lot of money. I bought a house and I was like 26 or something.
Right.
And there was a special at Gander Mountain. Gander Mountain, somehow I got a bunch of them. And with a coupon, you get them for it was like $80 out the door. And I had $80 and I bought one, and it was a big thing to me. But now they're on the shelves for like $400.
Oh yeah.
For just a basic one, and then yet again, if you have something cool with it,
Oh yeah.
they start going through an Imperial or something that was a Finnish Mosin or something like that, the prices there get like $1,000.
Yeah.
But you never would have thought that would have happened before. Now, part of that's also because the block, we don't ship anything from the Eastern Bloc anymore. And the same thing with Chinese stuff now goes through the roof. SKSs, you're not seeing Russian SKSs anymore. They're going for a lot more money.
Right.
Polytechs, the Chinese SKSs, God, they're going for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Even the Yugos, which were like the least valuable ones, they're still, demanding a good amount of money for them. So the sad part is that the farther we get into the history of firearms, it starts to dry up because they don't release the modern firearms back into the circle.
Right.
And that was CMP. That's what CMP did.
Yep.
So CMP would then take what we had
And theirs is drying
as
up too.
overstock. Yeah, and there's not much left in CMP anymore, and the foreign market's gone. We're not bringing them over. So
And then CMP's got 1911s too, right?
so CMP will always have 1911s, but the hard part with 1911s is it becomes so desirable that you have to do a raffle.
Yeah.
So you got to put your name in the hat and go through. We have since this door opened. How many think you got in, Anna?
Like 10.
Like 10?
Really?
Which is pretty impressive. Like 10 people from town won the raffle and got them. But yet again, it's like baseball. They're just pulling a gun and putting it in the box and sending it to you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really tough to get a lot of that stuff and to see a lot of stuff.
Of course.
And now even CMP is not a good deal either anymore.
Nah, it used to be
still
good.
there, but it's not like you're getting a gun for a couple $100. No, you are paying for a gun. They are not. They're not.
They know what they got.
They're not surplusing guns anymore like they used to.
No.
So it's pretty neat. We have some other stuff that I'd like to bring in one day. I think it would be really cool to talk about when we talk about the Grands of the car. We will bring a Grand in and talk about those. But, some of the variants of those. We talked about the variants of the carbines.
Yep.
But there were also variants of the Grand. Not the Grands didn't have a lot, but like the D. The D was the sniper rifle variant.
Right.
So it had a side mount scope on it. It had cheek rest. It had a flash muzzle brake on there, like flash hider. They didn't see it used in World War II, but they saw it used in Korea. They were ready for that. The 1903 A4, that would have been the same thing as your 1903s, but it was getting in your sniper rifle variant, so it had a scope and everything on there. So no, those are all really cool. Any of the old war guns are just neat. I mean, semi-auto, you can plink away with it all day long and shoot, and it's fun. In a world back then where a whole lot of bolt action guns, we were ahead of the game with the Grands and the carbines and
not just ahead of the game, but way ahead of it in a quality aspect as well. I mean, other people had semi-automatic weapons that would fire somewhat accurate, but the second the dirt hit them, they were toast. I mean, that gun was the French had a phenomenal gun, and it was a repeating rifle, I guess you could call it that. And you get a touch of dirt and you're toast. So
the Germans did a lot of nice stuff, but they had a different mindset. They were really big into handguns. They like subguns and handguns, and that was what they spent a lot of time on. Towards the end, they did some of the SGT stuff, but that was really what their market was. For us, the big advantage was the Grand, having a semi-auto, that had a large round in it.
Well, it wasn't just the Grands, but the BARs too.
Yeah, BARs were something too.
That was probably one of the biggest game changers on the planet. Was the BAR.
I tell you what, I don't know how anybody ever used those things because I've had a couple here and there over the years, and just the weight.
You got to be a stud.
So heavy.
You have to be a stud.
And I know
all
they
that
used
thing
to
around.
sling those things over, hang over their shoulder, but they were just massive.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight, but the other thing too is it would get into you think of that in that type of warfare, right? They were in towns, they were in cities, they weren't in like jungle warfare, they weren't in those type situations. They were CQB courses, or CQB and stuff like that. So you get into that world. And that's a whole different ball game. Try to tote a BAR through, a swamp and into jungles and, things like that. So it's,
The Germans used to use for the MG44. No, 40. That's a machine gun. MP42. Whatever. The little 9mm.
There's MP40s.
MP4. Yeah, MP40s. But there's a couple of variants. But they had an attachment that the barrel was curved to shoot around corners.
I remember. Yeah, I think we were talking about that.
They work for a little while,
right?
And then
they're done.
Just punch through the front and they shoot straight.
Right. That's crazy.
So they were thinking a lot about shoot combat.
Yeah.
If you look when we talk about like the Lugers, And we talked about P-38 the other day. The part of that, too, is that they would make a lot of those for occupying forces. So
Right.
they would go and take a city, find the guys who were willing to be traitors, take them, arm them with pistols, and betray your countrymen to keep them down.
Right.
And that was what they were doing instead of having to occupy their actual forces.
Sure.
In those cities. So that's why you see so many German pistols from back then.
Right.
And why everything was really pistol rated.
Yeah.
They say that came from a lot of stuff like that. But their actual like fighting units were based off of one machine gun with multiple bolt action rifles.
Right.
So they would use K98s, they would use like flanking formations. But,
Right.
that's not my forte, but I know a little bit about it. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, they were talking about the other part of that too was with the gun aspect of things. The Lugers were the most. What was it? I was listening to a podcast about this, and the Lugers had the most amount of accidental shootings for pistols of all time. Was the Luger?
So I don't know, but I do know that when there's a few variants of Lugers. Most of the variants of the Lugers are cosmetic.
Right.
They don't change the gun too much. The only thing that they do change is that initially there was a lot of Swiss contract ones.
Right.
And the Swiss contract had a tang safety on them, like a 1911 does.
Okay.
And they also had what they call a bounce lever. They kept the bolt down from bouncing when it would go. But other than that, they didn't change much of the gun ever.
Yeah.
They base it off of, I don't know what it's called, but it looked just like kind of like a Luger, but it had this big circle in the back of it. The grip was straight. It was like one of the first semi-auto guns.
Right.
And they literally took the design from that. The company that had that,
Right.
it had Luger. Those guys, they work with them, and that's how they came up with the frame and the idea
Oh,
of
that's
that
cool.
gun. So it was. I mean, they tried to sell it to a lot of people for the war. They tried to sell it to U.S. There were a bunch of U.S. ones.
Right.
They were called Eagles or something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
There were two that were made of 45 that are like priceless. That one disappeared for U.S. trials. But so the Lugers were really made to try to be. They were trying to sell them to governments.
Right. Well, they
So
were
it's-
They were easily manufactured. So
They were like the new thing. And
Right.
then the reality was that the Luger was a really nice gun, really
Right.
well made gun. It's really precise, but at the end of the day, really, the P-38 was much cheaper.
Sure.
And it was just as fine of a gun for a combat weapon.
Sure.
Than the Luger really was. And that's why you see over the years we got rid of that rotating, sliding open breech and going to a locking breech that's completely different.
Right.
It's more easy to use
Sure.
versus just the other way the Luger is designed.
All right. Well, we're past our time. Anna hadn't started yelling at us, but I don't want her yelling at us tonight.
Yes, you will. Well, that's it, for tonight. So, yet again, if you guys have any questions, concerns, any thoughts, if you like doing the random gun thing, we'll keep doing that. That's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
we got good feedback on that, so that was kind
So
of
I
cool.
thought that's kind of fun. Go over something different. And then
We got duck season,
duck season coming up. And what duck season's going on right now?
two duck hunts, and then some more in January. We're going to do a giveaway on a duck hunt. Come hunt with us in a duck blind.
Give away a duck.
Yeah, give away a duck hunt. And then I've got a duck hunt with Joey, a friend of mine, in Missouri. That's with this guy named Parker. So I'll tell you more about that next time.
We're
But
going hunting with John Stamos.
yeah, good.
He's a big duck hunter. We're going to go out there.
You're on it
Do
today.
that with him. So,
Anyway,
So if anybody has any ideas, like I said, I'll try to reach out to St. Croix guy, get some more information about that.
That's cool.
See if he'll come on, talk about some rods and things of that nature before spring comes.
I got to do some editing. I've got a lot of video from our duck hunts and things like that on video, and I'm so far behind on that. I've just been busy. So we'll get more of that stuff out on YouTube and Instagram and all that other stuff. So
I wanted to go ahead and get some. Oh, there's another auction coming up for Damewood. It's got some guns with a lot of ammo and stuff in it.
Okay.
Check that out. It ends like in a week. I wanted to do, like I said, some videos on gunsmithing work.
Yep.
But
We gotta get there.
We have been so busy with sorting stuff out for this auction house.
Yeah.
That we didn't get to that quite yet. So,
and it's the holiday season, man. Y'all are busy.
is this our last podcast before Christmas?
No, we got one more, I think.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is the next one, the last one.
Yeah, next one. Next one's the last one.
So
before
our
Christmas,
last
so.
one before Christmas, and then after that,
We probably. I don't know if we're going to get one in before the new year.
whatever.
We'll have to see.
Yeah,
I don't know the calendar, so
it's fine.
But anyway.
But so at least we got one more for the year.
yeah,
And then we'll go from there. So, like I said, thanks for listening.
yeah.
Any concerns, any questions, anything you guys want to do, shoot it at us. And we'll
Take a
go
kid
from
out
there.
hunting and fishing.
Yeah, that's important. Do stuff for the kids.
Yep.
And We'll see you later. Did we ever figure out what episode this was?
No. I didn't even look.
20 something? I don't know.
It's in the 20s.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Hunting Quest. No matter how crazy, high-tech, or lazy the rest of the country gets, we will always be hunting and fishing. If that's you, you've found your new family. Thanks to our sponsor, Davis Guns and Gear. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. Reach out to us by email at info@thehuntingquest.com and check us out on Instagram and YouTube at The Hunting Quest. See you next time.